Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to talk to you about different careers that you can do in IO psychology. The first thing I'm going to do is go to ONET. ONET is kind of like it's a job source. Basically, it tells you different knowledge, skills, and abilities that you need for a specific career. By looking at ONET and looking up industrial organizational psychologists, we're going to be able to see what knowledge, skills, and abilities are needed to be an IO psychologist and think about jobs that applies to. There's also usually a list of related jobs on the bottom of that. So let's go. Okay, so I am here in ONET. And I am just going to type in industrial organizational psychologist in the search bar. And you can see it's right there. So we're just scrolling through. We can see the tasks that IO psychologists usually do. And it says formulate and implement training programs, applying principles of learning, individual differences, conduct research, studies, conduct presentations. This is just the top few skills and knowledge, skills, and abilities. It's not everything, but here it shows you basically the hot technologies that are usually used for IO psychology right now, and the knowledge that is needed, the skills that are needed. One interesting thing is in the beginning here, in the beginning screen, you will have seen that some of those titles had suns next to them, and IO psychologist does not. That's basically just because it doesn't predict that IO psychology is a bright outlook field, basically meaning that there's not a lot of growth in the field right now. And when I first started graduate school back in 2015, it was actually projected to be a growing field. So how interesting that things have changed not 10 years later. So it just goes to show how crazy and fast things can change. So here I'm just scrolling through. You can see what I'm talking about, where it has a more exhaustive list if you click on those plus signs there. I'll let you go through ONET and look at things yourself. I'm not going to go through every little detail, but this just gives you an idea of how exhaustive the list is. And they compile all of this data based on research that they do of IO psychologists across, the field or across the country. So that just says occupations that are similar to this kind of work. So it gives you suggestions if you're interested in this kind of work, but you're not really into being an IO psychologist. So it shows you the training, the education needed, the title, job zones. I don't know what an SVP range is. You can look that up. But you will see that here it looks like more people who are IO psychologists have doctorate degrees than they do masters. It's almost the same though. So interests. This is just showing you if you ever taken a personality test or interest profile, it'll tell you what you kind of are, and you can kind of see if your skills or if your interests align with this kind of job. So related occupations, it says human resources, education administrative, survey researchers, business teachers, etc. Okay, so now that we've seen kind of what an IO psychologist is and the kind of things you need to be able to do, we can think about jobs that those things apply to. So the related occupations area of ONET, it talked about human resource managers, training and development specialists, and psychology teachers, and what else? Human resource, did I say that? Training and development managers, human resource specialists, marketing research analysts and marketing specialists, and psychology teachers. Those were the bright outlook careers that are related to IO psychology. Now, what that means, bright outlook, is basically that it projects that there will be growth in those areas and availability for jobs in those specific fields. So If you're not interested in being a teacher, then forget about that one. But the training and development it depends, I think, on where you are geographically. The IO psychologists that I've talked to in Wisconsin specifically said that it's not really that popular. Organizations aren't hiring for external consultants to come in and help them with their training programs. They could, but it's just not one of the top things. Right now, what they're looking for is people to come in and do assessments of individuals to help them predict who is going to be successful in a job. Basically, who should they hire? So they're consulting with IO psychologists to come in and assess candidates for jobs and give recommendations on who to hire. That's basically what is popular here in this area right now. But depending on where you live, you might want to reach out to IO psychologists and ask them about what have they seen as really popular in the field, in the area that you're located in, what's growing, and things like that. Now, one of the things that the organizational psychologists that I talked to said to me was that they're seeing a huge growth in the use of technology. So somebody who's young, like a millennial or a Gen Z, who's interested in IO psychology, or maybe even older and just like an entrepreneur type person, could think about how can you create an assessment platform online that can do basically what they do, and give out predictions on how a person is going to be for a specific job. I think that'd be very difficult to do, especially doing it accurately, because the unique thing about having an IO psychologist come in and do it is that the IO psychologist is thinking from a people lens, not just a robotic lens. So you would have to really be able to integrate the people part of the computer science. And I think that could be difficult. But I could see how like an app or something could help with the analytical piece of it, I guess. Anyways, that's just an idea. It's not something that I'm interested in doing, but it's an idea for you. Take it and run with it. Anyways, other jobs that are popular, human resource. So they did mention to me that if you are interested in getting into this field, doing human resources for a few years is a very good way to get into the IO field, because organizations want to know that you understand how an organization operates internally if you are giving them advice. So if your long-term goal is to become an external consultant, being an HR specialist could help you get there. If you're not interested in that and you just want to be working inside a company, then HR is definitely a way to go. There's a lot of jobs within the HR community, or sector, I guess you would call it. HR managers, you can be a talent acquisition specialist, you could be a talent acquisition director. Well, you can be the benefits person. They hire people that, their job is to think about the people's benefits and things like that. Diversity, equity, inclusion officer. That's a really popular career right now. There's just a lot within the HR field that you can get into, and I encourage you to research that a little bit. I gave you some ideas. Take that and run with it. Marketing research analyst. That is actually a very popular one. I have seen a lot of jobs for people, for organizations looking for people who are marketing specialists. Especially, you have to be a little bit creative with this one, because you can honestly be like a social media director or some social media manager, and use some analytical skills in that way and get some experience doing that, and then go into like a marketing role if you have no marketing experience. I mean, if you already do have like sales or marketing experience, then you can become a marketing manager or director or something within that specific field. And like I said, you can be a teacher. You can teach IO psychology. You can teach psychology, general psychology classes. You can even teach statistics, things like that. Just think about the classes that you're taking, and how they can apply to different subjects. Also, I encourage you to think about what are the gaps in services in the area that you're located in. IO psychologists are great because we're very flexible. Like, we're able to be integrated into different industries. So think about the different industries in your area, things that you're interested in, and the gaps in services within that specific field. I am interested in clinical, so the gaps in services that I see are very clinical and consulting based. So I'm working towards becoming an external consultant, but with a clinical lens, for like education programs and daycares and things like that in my area, because I see that that's a huge gap in services. And I feel comfortable sharing that idea because I feel like the gap is so huge that if somebody else were to come across my video and say, oh, I want to do that too, who cares? I mean, there's plenty of work for us counselors to do, and there's plenty of work for IO psychologists to do. You just have to be really creative with how you integrate that. Okay, I hope that was helpful for you. If you want to see more content like this, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.